The following video depicts external modifications to an airsoft toy rifle. No firearms were modified in this video. These modifications are only intended for airsoft toys. Remember to be responsible when safely operating airsoft toy rifles and any machinery or tools.
Hey Airsofters, Milsom Squirrel here, and I'm going to be showing you how to turn this into this. For those of you that don't know, I am actually a second generation Polish speaking US citizen, which means my parents are from Poland. I can speak some Polish. Jakbyś chcesz zobaczyć ten film po polsku, proszę iść na dole do descripcji. Now if you want to continue watching this video in English, well, just continue watching. Now recently I've decided to make a Polish grunt kit. So essentially they're basic infantry. The problem is about making a Polish kit is that they use a pretty unique rifle. They actually use the Radon manufactured Polish Archer barrel rifle, which is a 5.56 NATO rifle based off of the AK74. Now the only issue is that there aren't very many airsoft versions of the barrel out there. In fact, Ares does make an airsoft barrel, but the mags are proprietary and they're pretty hard to come by, especially here in the United States. So I decided to take on a project, a build project, to transform my Cyma AK74 into a Polish barrel archer. Now in this video, I'll be going over the parts and the modifications needed to transform a Cyma AK74, more specifically their CM40, into the closest thing possible to a Polish barrel archer.
Now I went with the Cyma CM40 because the external features are not only sturdy, but closely resemble that of a barrel. Some internal modifications also had to be made to make this fire 400 FPS with .2s and compliant with the standard airsoft velocity limits here in Florida, but we won't be going over any internal modification in this video, only external ones. Now I decided to go with the Radon WZ96 variant A because the variant C real steel stock was not only expensive, but would also be much more difficult to fit with an airsoft receiver. Also, the variant A and variant B handguards are also more prevalent for purchase and utilize magazines that have exact airsoft midcap replicas in the airsoft world. Now, some of the modifications that will be necessary when creating an airsoft barrel would be creating a barrel extension, fitting a stock to the receiver, mounting a top rail to the fake gas block in the new stock, removing the Russian side rail while adding rivets, and fitting a real variant A/B handguard while also getting new midcaps. I decided to use Matrix AK parts since they were more likely to play nice with the Cyma AK, especially since they make a folding stock that is very similar to the barrel folding stock, but would not only line up with the receiver, but also be a lot easier to modify and fit in the limited space between the airsoft gearbox and the receiver. A full parts list can be found in the description below. I removed the Russian flash hider by pushing down on the pin and turning, and I tried to take great care, but this removal ruined our negative 14mm threads. We actually had to rethread it so we could attach our part. Now the Beryl 5.56 flash hider does not exist in the airsoft world, so we actually had to machine our part ourselves out of aluminum. Using measurement ratios from 3D models and barrel specification measurements, we were able to figure out how to machine out our flash hider. Since the barrel also had a longer overall barrel length, we also had to add a mock barrel extension to get the right length. We tapped this all to negative 14mm to mount to our airsoft gun. It was heated and dipped in oil to black and get it the right color. We removed the pistol grip, selector switch, front body pin, and gearbox to access the receiver. We also hammered out the bolts holding the stock to the receiver. Now the Cyma had a stamped receiver, so after we used a drill press to mill off the side rail, which isn't pictured, we had to machine custom rivets out of aluminum, which we then heated, oil blacked, and hammered in place after it was cooled. The matrix stock was measured to leave enough space for the top rail later on. 4 holes were also drilled into the real receiver to mount the stock on later as well. However, there is very little space between the airsoft gearbox and the receiver, so the matrix stock was milled out to fit in between. Then the stock was lined up with the receiver, and we drilled new holes in the matrix stock and tapped it, now mounting it to the receiver with 4 screws. With the rest of the airsoft rifle reconfigured, the top rail was placed to line up level with the mounting being on the fake gas block and with the new rear stock. Holes were drilled and tapped on either side of the gas block, with 1 hole drilled and tapped on the remaining space left of the matrix stock where the mount meets the receiver. This way, the screw at the back end where it mounts to the receiver can be unscrewed to lift up and access the internals of the gun. I removed 2 pins along the barrel to gain access to the handguard. Now the bottom variant A or B handguards need the tabs on the bottom to be filed down to fit with the receiver. Make sure you file and test repeatedly to ensure that tightest fit, because remember, you could always take more off, but you can never put more back on. Next, the upper handguard won't fit as needed because it seats with the mounting bracket. In the real barrel, the top of this handguard fits right into the receiver. In the airsoft version, we do have this mounting bracket. So we took a grinder and grinded it carefully to the right length. Then we grinded a lip to seat with this mounting bracket perfectly. Again, make sure you test and mount repeatedly, as the more you grind, the more it's sure to come off, and you want a tight and secure fit. I just want to take a quick moment and say thank you to the many wonderful people in the Florida airsoft community who are a part of this airsoft build. The main purpose of this video was being instructional for players to replicate these airsoft modifications and build their very own airsoft barrel replica to complete their basic Polish infantry or Polish grunt kits. Please check out our video description for more specific details. If you have any questions regarding this build or Polish militaria in general, just visit the Polish Grunts Recruitment page on Facebook. There you'll also find our grunt guide, which has our instructions listed. Thank you, and as always, I'll see you on the field.